Good morning. Um, we'll make sure this is focusing. Yeah, I know. That's quite the array. Yes, it is quite the array. You'll notice these are mostly free samples, not per sale. Free samples, free samples. I get sent a lot of stuff like this to review, use, and then report back and give my opinions on. I'm very, very, very familiar with some of this stuff. Most of it I use up the samples and toss. Every once in a while, I'll find a product that I really, really like and will hang on to. Um, that's one, but it really doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing today. It's important when I give information out that you get accurate information. Um, I use a lot of these products, but I use a lot of these products in different things. I don't use 99% of this on orchids. Why am I showing all this and bringing it all up? Because this is kind of some of the stuff you're going to see out there when you go visit a hydro shop or a grow shop or any shop that sells any type of gardening products. Actually, you're going to see a lot of this stuff. It's all great stuff. This one is great stuff. Everybody knows Super Thrive. This one drives me nuts. It's good stuff, but this will destroy more plants than probably any product here in front of you if you don't use it correctly. It can cause some really weird things in plants, cause them to even morph, hermaphrodite, and all kinds of other things. But it's great stuff when it's used correctly. All right. When I give the information out, I want to give out accurate information out, and I may sometimes withhold a couple of pieces of information because it's just an overload. But I don't want to leave something out that might cause somebody harm or some confusion. So one of the things I want to do today is on these TDS meters, PPM pens. Um, it probably doesn't say when you take these out of the package. If there's even directions on them, and there probably isn't maybe on them. Most people just think you turn them on and stuff. It may tell you something about calibration, but up in the upper right hand corner when these things are turned on, if you put this in a high concentration solution, like something that's over 999, depending on your placement on your meter, up in the upper right hand corner, it'll usually say in tiny, tiny letters, and unless you've got really good glasses on or you're aware of it, it'll say times 10 or even times 100, depending on the pen manufacturer, the solution you just pushed it into or set it into. Unless you know that reading of 150 might actually be 1500 or 15,000. All right. If you're not aware of that, that could make or break your afternoon. You know what I mean? That could really make for a really bad afternoon. Anyway, that's important to know because not knowing the strength of your solution, that could have some dire consequences. All right. Make sure you know how to use your pen. It's probably not anybody's fault if you don't know how to use these properly because the directions on these are horrible. And unless you have some experience using them and understand that, nobody will probably tell you. All right. That's something you probably need to know. I want to talk about this product as well. Calmag. I love this product. It's a great product. I use it on the orchids. I've started using it on orchids recently, and I love it. It works really, really well. When I'm feeding bedding plants in a solution where we've got 1,000 or 1,500 parts per million maybe flowing, we rarely add more than maybe 150 parts a million of this. And that's in a high, high strength solution. Just to give you an understanding of how much of this I might use on an orchid. So when you mix up an orchid solution of this, you want to make sure you're using, first of all, we'll talk about that in a second, but you want to make sure you're using the right amounts and in the right, I guess, concentrations. A high concentration of this, yeah, it'll raise a pH, but that's not how you use this. So that's kind of that's not, it's not false information, but it's just not understanding the product. And it's just because you're not familiar with the product or somebody's not familiar with any of these products, you're not going to know how to use them. I make mistakes with these things all the time because some of these you don't want to cross. Some of these you don't want to use improperly. Humic acids, all right, folic acids, that type of stuff. You can just, it's no different than, I guess Roundup if you don't use this correctly. That's what it'll do to your plants. It's just like we're using Roundup on your plants or a vegetation killer, all right? Great stuff when it's used properly, but horrible stuff when it's not. Same with silica. All right, and all have their time and place. When this product right here, if I'm using on orchids, I might use 40 parts per million, 50 parts per million, and that's probably max. All right, and I will, because it contains calcium and magnesium, I try and feed this around the sweet spot, 5.8, 5.9, 5.8, 5.9, 5.8, 5.9. That way you're kind of getting a little bit of everything. Calcium being as at the lower end, magnesium being at the higher end. So I hope I said that, didn't say that backwards. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, real quickly, these are pipettes. These are like 10 cents a piece, maybe at the stores, most of them. They usually have a giant container or bin of them at a garden center, any place that sells these kind of products. I'll grab them by the handful. I won't grab 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I grab them by the handful because they look like this very quickly, at least for me. And they lose their vacuum. They won't pull up any more nutrients. They'll get a crack in the bulb or a crack in it somewhere. Anytime you start to see any coloration here, algae buildup, or even for that matter, any kind of nutrient buildup, throw them away. Don't use them, because cross-contamination of a container, some of these chemicals will bind. We talked about that before. Some of these chemicals will bind, so you don't want to cross-contaminate. You don't want to mix something in another container by dipping it in there. Keep them clean. Throw them away. They're only 10 cents a piece, but this is what you use. If you pour a liquid, especially a chemical, and a lot of people didn't have chemistry classes and stuff in school, but if you pour a chemical, especially like this citric acid concentration we talked about the other day, that will take an eye out of you. That'll burn skin off your hand. And especially in this concentration right here, if I leave this on my hand right now the way it is, it'll burn my skin. All right? It'll take an eye out. Drops of this will take an eye out. So you have to be very, very careful. Please don't pour any of these chemicals. Always use a pipette when you're getting chemicals out. Plus, those are the amounts. This holds a teaspoon or 5 milliliters. And of this right here, I never use more than a teaspoon or 5 milliliters. And that's when I'm working with big, big mixes. So that should give you, I'm trying to tell you that just so you have an understanding of how little of this would last you years and years, unless you had thousands of orchids. But should last you a long time if you're measuring it like this and using it the concentrations you're supposed to. All right. This is great stuff. Don't throw it out if you have some. You're going to want that. All right. But I just want to make sure there's a few pieces of the puzzle missing. That's not fair to people. And it's not that I'm withholding stuff. It's just that if I have a 4 or 5 hour hydro show, there's only going to be a couple of, serious hydro growers holding out at the end, and everybody else is going to leave way in the beginning. It's already got too complicated. The only reason I'm showing this is I don't want you to do any of this, is that I have some experience with this. If there's something I can help you with, let me know. I can probably answer some questions for you. And this all has a time and place, and it's great stuff to use, but most of it I don't use on orchids, and most of it isn't great for orchids unless you know what you're doing with it, all right, or understand how to use it. I wanted to explain about the pens, and I wanted to explain about one part product right now, and we might talk about all these here, bits and pieces. Thank you very much for your time today, and have a great day.